Hello, everybody. Today we're going to show you the graphics section of printing an image on your Model X using DTF printing. Okay, so the first thing we have to do is mirror the image. So I'm going to go up to the image here, go to image rotation, and I'm going to flip the canvas horizontally by clicking that button. That creates my mirrored image, right? Next, just going to save it as a PNG, and by all means, you can do this on any other graphic software that's out there. I just happen to be using Photoshop. But from here now, I want to go into Turbo Rip. So let me find Turbo Rip. There it is. I'm going to open that up. And next, I'm going to find my DTG file. Let's go in. I think I saved it on my desktop, didn't I? There it is. So let me drag and drop it right in here. So now I have on my screen here the file that I want. Now I'm going to do the white part first, because what we're actually going to do is we're going to make two files. We're going to make a white file and then a color file. So first things first, let me add the white ink underbase and make sure it's the dimensions that I want it to be at, right? I want to size it. So I'm going to go ahead and hit 11, center it, and I'll move it up so that it starts about 3 inches from the top. Okay. Now keep in mind, I'm only going to be printing the white ink here. So the other step here is I'm going to click this button that says print white only. And as you can see, this changed to just white. Next, with DTF, you end up using a little bit less ink. So I'm going to drop my resolution down to 600 by 600 DPI. From here, I'm ready to print, make my file. So I'll go ahead and hit print. It's going to ask me if I want to save it at first. I'm going to say no. But then I'm going to come here and say DTG Turbo Rip. But I'm going to call this the white background. Hit OK. I'll save it on my desktop. All right. The next step now is the color pass. So I'm going to uncheck add white underbase. I'm going to make sure I don't move this. I don't want this to move. I want it to print right there because I'm not going to be moving my sheet on the DTF process. So again, I have it just where I need it. I'm going to go ahead and hit print again. And we're going to name it color. Hit OK. Again, I'll just save it on my desktop. All right, now I have both my files. So at this point, I'm going to take both those files, put them into a thumb drive, and walk on over to my Model X printer.
Hello, okay, so this is a continuation of doing DTF on the Model X. We've taken our ripped graphics from a thumb drive and put them into the printer and access the graphics from the USB button. We'll now take a piece of DTF film. The important thing is shiny side down. You're actually printing on the matte finish side. So I'm going to take a couple of pieces of tape and I'm going to tape our film onto the table so that it doesn't move, because remember, we're going to print color and then white. So let me just actually line this up a little better. Kind of center it, since we put this toward the top. All right, now I've got my flat print area. Come on over here and select my color pass. Oops. We'll hit select, yes. Graphic pops up and we'll go ahead and hit print. As you notice, you don't have to adjust the table height or anything. It already does this for you. And it will now print the color pass. Okay, color pass is done. Obviously, it's just the red C because our graphic is mostly white. I'm going to go back into the USB file. I'm going to select my white background now. Okay, so I'll hit select. And now send my white pass. Again, automatically sets the height of the table, and our sheet isn't moving because it's been taped down. Now that it's finished printing the white, you just take the film off of the table. And I'm doing it gently because I don't want it to drip, just in case it's a little bit wet. You can tell it's shiny, so it's a little wet. You could always let it air dry or even hit it with a hair dryer if you wanted to be sure it wouldn't drip. But I've got a tray set up here with some DTF powder. And the next step is to just sprinkle the powder over the wet ink. And you put a lot on there, use a liberal amount. Once you've got the powder on, you can move it all over the ink. And one of the most common questions is, well, how do I get the powder, the excess powder off? Well, it's difficult to get it all off, but if you kind of hit the edges of your transfer sheet, most of it falls off. Any excess powder will get on your shirt, which is not ideal. So you do want to, knock it down. Next step is to take it over to the heat press. Okay, powder side up. And then what we're going to do is we're actually going to just hover. We're not going to actually clamp. We're just going to hover our transfer sheet for 2 minutes. After 2 minutes of hovering, your transfer sheet should be ready to go. And again, I didn't put direct pressure down onto that transfer. It was just a hover, so just to get the ink to dry. You can touch it lightly, and you'll notice that it doesn't feel wet to the touch. It's almost just like chalky and dry. So the next step is take yourself the item you want to press the transfer onto. In this case, we're just going to use a 100% poly black shirt, which would be difficult to pre-treat and then print on DTG. So this is the perfect reason to use DTF. So we'll take our black shirt, lay it down, we'll get our nice DTF transfer, shiny side up. So now you're pressing the transfer into the shirt. Okay, we're gonna line it up pretty good. We'll lay paper over, and then we're gonna go 35 seconds at 330 degrees. And we'll let that cure. Now the perfect time to use DTF is anytime you're printing on curved surfaces like hats or sleeves or shoes or polyester, and you don't want to go through the pre-treat process. These are the best, applications for DTF. If you're printing on 100% cotton shirts, it's definitely better to stick with DTG. So this is just a nice little added feature for your DTG machine, and it allows you to have basically the Swiss Army knife of printers. Okay, next step, we're gonna pop this open. And this powder and transfer sheet is actually considered a cold peel sheet. So we need to wait until this cools off before we peel away our finished product. So just go ahead and set it aside and let it cool down. Once it's completely cool, you put some air through the middle here, let it cool off. Once it feels cool to the touch, then you can peel away your DTF sheet. There you go. And now you've got 100% poly, white ink, long-lasting, durable print, feels nice and soft. So that's the DTF process on the Model X.